Good morning, everyone. Today is a new / returning player guide to NGS. A lot of people have been requesting this, so I've decided to take the time out of my day to actually plan out this video because there is actually a lot of stuff to cover. Even though most veteran players might think, oh, it's pretty simple, just blast through the main storyline, da-di-da-di-da. But there's actually a lot more to that. Editor Care over here. I just want to let you guys know that this is an extremely long video, so I have placed a bunch of timestamps in the description below, so that way you'll be able to navigate to certain parts, because I don't really expect any of you guys to actually watch from beginning to end, but if you do, I would greatly appreciate it, as it really does help the YouTube algorithm as well as the ad revenue. Anyway, enough of me yapping. Enjoy the video. So in typical Kero fashion, I will be walking you through the entire process on my Ship 3 character, which is level 70. I literally haven't logged into this character for about 2 years, 2.5 years, so it's been quite some time. And I feel like most returning players are going to be at this point. Now, the reason why I chose this character specifically is because a lot of players are going to get stuck at a very specific point in the story. As you can see over here, I'm currently at chapter 5 before the final battle. And 99.9% of you guys will have no problems blasting through the story over here simply because of two things. The very first thing is Sega has increased the amount of EXP you get from playing the main storyline, so you're going to be leveling up incredibly quickly. But more importantly is they actually give you free gear, and they've actually given you better free gear now. Back in my day, we had Argenti weapons and Argent cool weapons. However, apparently they were not good enough. And so nowadays, you actually get an epithet weapon as well as free armors, the Dechem armors, which are significantly better. Now, some of you guys are wondering how much better, and this is with my old gear. I'm at 3,754 battle power. I'm going to equip all of the free weapons and armors that they actually gave me. So we have the Dechem armors right here. I'm literally just going to equip 3 of them. 1, 2, and 3. And then on top of that, I'm also going to switch my weapon over to the epithet weapon. We're going to switch this as well. Boom and boom. We're going to switch this to a Silverleaf Storm. And you can see we are at 4,186. That is almost 500 battle power increase, just based off free gear, all right? So literally, whatever gear they give you from playing the story, literally just equip it. Every time they give you new gear, just equip that. It's gonna be enough to blast you through anything that the story has to offer, all right? Now that you've got your free gear, the next thing is, of course, to blast through the story. The main reason why you wanna focus on the main storyline exclusively is because of the amount of EXP. Back in our day, we had to grind PSE combat zones for hours on end to level up. Nowadays, you do not need to do that, as the main storyline, like every single quest in the main storyline, is giving you at least 1 million, 1.5 million EXP. As you can see right here, this quest by itself gives you 1.5 million EXP, and all it requires you to do is to talk to an NPC. And you can see that I went from 0% of level 70 to basically 90% or maybe 80%. So that was a lot of EXP, considering all I did was literally talk to an NPC and just watch a little cutscene. Now there's actually a chain of quests over here. I actually have to complete more, as I need to battle. I haven't even done Battle of Halfia Lake. So yeah, I need to talk to Aina at Halfia Lake, and I get to fight a Dark Falls. So we're gonna head over there now. All right, we're gonna talk to Aina. As you can see here, rank 1, the boss is gonna be level 60, but we're level 70, so it's not a big deal. We're gonna bully the living daylights out of this guy. And there we go, we obtained another 1.5 million EXP. Because we saved the universe. We're level 71. We're heading back over to the central city in order to talk to another NPC, where we're going to gain another 1.5 million EXP. So literally just blast through the storyline. You're going to get a ton of EXP very, very quickly. And you'll level up very quickly as well. Again, you can skip all the cutscenes if you don't care about it, or you can watch them. Obviously, if it's your first time, I do recommend watching them. It's just, this is like my third character, so I'm skipping everything since I've seen everything already. And there we go, another 1.5 million EXP for talking to a couple NPCs. We're now level 72. So yes, you will be leveling up incredibly quickly, so just keep blasting through the main storyline. And we're back. As you can see, I am level 78. However, I am not on chapter 7 yet, because something I want to point out that I just found out today was you actually just need to hit chapter 6, the next steps, and you will have access to all of the different game modes. So as you can see over here, we can head over to class counter, Ultra Realm, combat sectors, and we can actually queue into Ultra Realm Battle Line West Desert area. Now, do I recommend jumping into this immediately, this level 105 zone, when you're level 78? No, I do not recommend it. You're going to die literally in one hit, and you're not going to be very helpful to the group. But with that being said, we're still going to continue on with the main storyline until we hit chapter 7, because there is a specific quest which I know a lot of you guys will get stuck on. All right, now some of you guys may be stuck on this part, which is chapter 6, looking for the Liminasigne. This one is pretty annoying because, as you can see the flower right here. You just can't pick it up because you have to wait till nighttime. For those who don't know, there is a day-night cycle in this game, as you can see right here under your mini-map. When it is under the yellow tab, that means it is daytime, and then when it's in the not yellow tab, the dark tab over here, that's when it's nighttime. So, yeah, basically, I've just been sitting here for the past, like, 10 minutes, maybe more, waiting for this little bar to go down so that it turns into nighttime so I can pick up this silly flower. So if you are stuck at this part, well, unfortunately, there is no way to speed up time. You just have to wait until it's nighttime before you can continue on with this quest. And there we go. After waiting for an eternity for nighttime to arrive, here is what the flower actually looks like, the Liminasigne. It is an RGB little flower thingy. For those who are wondering where it is, you literally just follow the quest marker. You just teleport here. There's a cave right underneath where we're at right now, and then you will see the Liminasigne if it is nighttime. If it's not nighttime, it'll literally just tell you to wait there until nighttime. But as you can see here, we have it. We pick it up. Wabam, we're done. Now we head back to go wake up our friend, and then we can continue on with the story. Alright, after you hand in the flower to your friend and you waken her up, you need 5 more of these flowers, so you have to go to all the different points. The first point that we decided to go was over here. You can just teleport to Geometric Labyrinth and run out of the cave. Here is the first flower. Now, don't forget, there are multiple flowers in each zone, so as you can see here, I actually missed one. And I believe there's one more back here. So you can pick up multiple flowers in every single zone. But as you can see, we only got 3 in the Retem region. So we're going to move on to the next region, which is Alio over here. We're going to turn right around. And it says that there are some down here. I believe there's probably under the waterfall. Yep, right here under this waterfall. As you can see, my scanner is going crazy and it's telling me, hey, there's something over here. So we probably just need to walk a little bit deeper into the cave and we should see those RGB flowers. Yep, one right here. Is there one more deeper in here? Yes, the scanner says so. So we continue on to get our last flower. So I believe that's probably the fastest way to get all 5 of them. Because remember, these only spawn at night, so that is a little bit, it's a little bit time sensitive. So you do have to rush this part a little bit. But once you've gotten all 5, now we can head back to the control room and finally finish this awful quest. Alright, after many hours of progressing through the story, we are finally at Chapter 7, The Great Threat. I believe the majority of you guys are going to get stuck here because you don't know where to go. Because there isn't actually a marker to tell you where to defeat Darkfall's Vial. Now, you have 2 ways to approach this. The first way is to wait for the urgent quest and the Stars Fell to appear. The second way is to actually use a trigger, which is the Drill and the Stars Fell. So, for those who don't know where the UQ is, the regular urgent quest will happen right here. So when there's an urgent quest, make sure to check the Stia region, check on this top left corner, and see if it is the right urgent quest. Keep in mind that there is a chance of having the wrong urgent quest or a different urgent quest that isn't the one that you need that might appear in Stia. So you are not guaranteed to have this specific UQ pop up every single time. You just have to pray that RNG is on your side and you get the right one. However, I understand that a lot of you guys are like myself, and by the time you're doing this quest specifically, it's like, oh wow, an urgent quest just ended, and you don't want to wait 2 hours just to continue on with the story. This is where the second method comes in. The second method actually requires you to get these triggers. As you can see, it is called Q trigger and the stars fell, which will allow you to run the urgent quest at any time that you want. The only problem about this is you can no longer obtain this in-game through farming. You have to purchase this through the player shop. Now, luckily, the prices are not too expensive, but you are going to need to purchase 5 of these in order to do a single run. So as you can see over here, I did manage to buy 5 of these. It did cost like 80,000 N Meseta, which is, it's unfortunate, but I had to spend that extra money. Now, once you have 5 of those triggers, you head over to the quest counter over here. You head over to other quests, and then under trigger quests, you need to go to the second page. Head over to the second page, and you will see it right here, drill and the stars fell. Now, as you can see, you do need 5 of these triggers in order to run this, and you can run this with your friends if you have any friends. However, remember, you can only invite up to 3 additional players with you, so a total of 4 players in order to run this. If you want to run it at its maximum capacity of 8 players, the second party leader will also need 5 of these triggers in order to run together with you. Now, if you have the same problem as me right here, where it won't let you start the quest because it says main task progression, this is simply because you have not set up your Mars. This is because during this fight, it actually forces you into Mars, which you actually need to do in the main storyline. In Chapter 2, there is Mars Arrive. So we're actually going to set this up right now, and I'm actually going to explain to you guys what all the different things do and how to actually set up your Mars properly in order to have a much easier time on this fight. So first of all, you're going to head over to your class counter over here. And as you can see, there's literally a big pop-up telling you, this is Mars, please use it. However, I understand a lot of people kind of just click next, 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 and they don't read all this information. However, if you did read this information, you wouldn't need me here to explain what all this meant. So the very first thing that you actually need to do is we're going to head over to Mars Skill. All right. Once you're Mars Skills, you're going to go over to the Mars Skill Point Exchange. This is where you can exchange all of your Mars updaters. They kind of look like Mars bars, and you can turn them into skill points. Now, for me, I've already maxed out all the skill points because these skill points are account-wide. So you just need to do it on one character, and it automatically unlocks it for all of your future characters or all of your existing characters. And then once you've done that, you head over to Mars Skill Learning. And right here, you can see that I've got a lot of skill points. I actually have 242 skill points. However, you are probably not going to have that many. It's very important that you take the following skills in order to make your life a lot easier. You're going to take all of the Garm skills on the top row, except for Garm Risky Style. Garm Risky Style sacrifices your HP to gain more damage. However, during this fight, survivability is a little bit more important than damage, as you do have literally 1 hour to kill the boss. So you do not need to take this. And on top of that, that also means every time that you attack with Garm, you get inbuilt lifesteal, which is absolutely amazing. Now, as for the second weapon, I do recommend people to use Hydra, which is basically the gigantic ion cannon, and then you can learn all the skills over here. Now, other than that, another thing that is very important are the skills down here. There's the potency up, the crit rate up, the crit damage up, HP natural recovery, PP up, as well as offensive PP recovery up. These are all very, very important and can really make your life a lot easier. However, they do require 30 points per category to max out, which means you are going to need a lot of these Mars updaters or Mars skill points. And I do understand that the majority of you guys will not have that many points. So if you don't have a lot of points, I actually highly recommend putting HP up so that you're just tankier when you're in Mars. And that way you'll be able to survive a little bit longer and, the fight will just be a lot easier. However, if you don't have HP problems or just, you're just not dying in general, you can always just go with potency up. Potency up just gives you more damage overall, and you're just going to deal more damage, which is really nice. Then crit rate up, and then crit damage up, and then HP up, and then all the other stuff afterwards, all right? But in my case, I can literally max everything out. However, for the sake of the video, I'm going to pretend that I only have enough points to max out my Garm as well as my Hydra. All right, then we're going to click confirm right there. Now, the next thing is actually setting up your Mars. In order to set up your Mars, you have to press escape. You have to go to gear sub palette, and then there is a Mars palette right here. Under main 1 and main 2 here, you can select your weapons. The very first weapon that I recommend people to use is going to be Garm, which is a gigantic sword with inbuilt lifesteal. Very, very useful. It's very powerful. And then the secondary weapon, I recommend people to use the Hydra, which again is the ion cannon. You need to set these things up before you go into the quest, okay? Before you fight anything, or else you're gonna be pretty screwed. Now, other than that, there's also a sub over here, which allows you to switch all of your different abilities, basically. So, as you can see, Fenrir over here gives you high mobility, Fanri over here gives you high durability, and then there is Linward over here, which gives you a support ornament, which improves your PP recovery and reduces the attack of enemies. Now, personally, I prefer to take Fafnir because it gives you improved guard and resistances, and I just like to face tank everything when I'm using my Mars. I don't care about enemies hitting me because I have inbuilt lifesteal, so I'm just praying that I lifesteal faster than I get damaged. That's pretty much my philosophy whenever I use Mars. Now, we are not done yet, because once you're done with all of that, you actually need to head over to your sub palette over here, and under sub palette here, you actually need to place in Mars. So you can see this is your bar over here, and you have to click on one of the empty slots or one of the existing slots, wherever you want to put it, and you need to put Mars there. All right, if you don't have this on your sub palette, you can't actually activate Mars and you won't go into your Gundam mode. So it's very important that you actually have it under your sub palette. You can actually see it right here on the bottom right corner that I have Mars. All right, once that is all done, then again, we're going to head back over here to our trigger quest, and now we should be able to run and the stars fell. As you can see here, we are now able to start the quest. Now, again, I want to remind everyone, if you have some friends, it's going to be significantly easier to run with some friends. However, in this case, I have no friends, so I'm gonna run this solo. Now, once you initiate the matchmaking or press start quest, it will put you into a queue. It'll try to find other people who are also queuing for this. However, the chances of you finding anyone is basically 0%. So you basically want to just hold down the E key over here. It says press and hold to activate the quest acceptance menu, and then you click on quest immediate start proposal. And then you're going to say yes, and then it's immediately going to throw you into the quest. Now, you don't need to worry about dying as well. I'm actually going to show you. I'm going to die right here. As you can see, I have died, and I will just res automatically in a couple seconds. As you can see, revive in current location, 23 seconds. It was like 30 seconds, but you literally cannot fail this, all right? You have an hour to do this. It's not going to take you an hour to kill the boss, and you literally have auto revive. So I know it sounds scary fighting the boss all by yourself, but you know, you don't need to panic. You're literally just going to revive in every 30 seconds if you do die. As you can see here, revive in current location. Boom, I'm alive again. The boss's HP has not regenerated, and you can just slowly chip away at the boss. And there we go. It only took us like almost 9 minutes to get through the first phase. All right. And explosion. Now, if you fail the DPS check, which I just did over here, you do need to wait the 30 seconds to revive. But it doesn't matter because we're moving on to the next phase already. So this is phase 2. This is the part that it forces you into using Mars. And there we go. We're revived. But as you can see, we automatically get put into Mars. But yeah, as you can see here, you know, we're doing pretty good progress. We still have 49 minutes to kill this boss. But, you know, as I said earlier, still recommend running this with friends. It will be significantly less painful, especially if your friends are fully geared up. And at the moment, I am really under-leveled as well. We're level 91 fighting a level 100 boss. I do not really recommend doing this. But hey, we're impatient, and I just want to show you that it can be done. And there we go. We have completed the quest, so we can finally move on with the storyline. But there's not really much left to the story. But nevertheless, we managed to clear it in 25 minutes and 57 seconds with the free gear and under-leveled significantly. And we're still able to do it. All right. But that was the loot. Pretty mediocre loot, and let's get out of here. And congratulations, you have completed the main storyline. Now the true game begins, or the true grind begins. Now, if you want to make your life significantly easier while fighting Darkfall's Vial, or the boss that you just saw me fight, you can always get more Mars bars as well. That way you can actually max out some of these skills over here, such as, you know, the damage up, the HP up, as well as all of this stuff over here, which will make your life significantly easier in the damage and survivability department, which will make the fight a lot faster. However, it doesn't end there because there are also a bunch of class skills. So as we can see over here, you get a total of 47 skill points. And remember, once you get these skill points, it's unlocked for every single class. And this gives you a significant amount of battle power, which will just make you stronger in general. However, in order to get these skill points, you do not just level up. Leveling up does not actually get you skill points. You have to go into the open world to all these different towers as well as cocoons in order to earn additional skill points. So in order to obtain all 47 skill points, you actually have to go to the open world. So there's Alio, Ritam, Kavaris, as well as Stia, and there are different towers and cocoons, and this is where you actually earn all of your skill points. Now, if you're a returning player, you might have already unlocked some skill points in specific areas. However, I'm going to go over the entire list just in case you might be missing a couple skill points. So the very first thing is the towers. The towers give you a lot more skill points than the regular cocoons. I believe towers give you 3 skill points versus cocoons that only give you 1. However, I may be wrong about this. Nevertheless, you want to do all of them because you want all the skill points. So in the Alio region, there are 3 towers. The first one is Altar's Rush, the second one is Great Wall, and then the third one is all the way down here called Arrow Runner. All right, you need to do all 3 of them. However, it doesn't end there because there are a bunch of cocoons to do as well. There is the Test Flight cocoon, the Swift Jump cocoon, the First Step cocoon, the Fleeting Flight, Enhanced Enemy, Runway, Wild Rush, as well as Roaring Rush. It's important that you do all of them because that is how you earn skill points. And that covers the Alio region. Next up is the Ritem region. The Ritem region only has 1 tower, and the tower is all the way up here called Doll's Burrow. You need to make sure that you do this. Once you're done with that, then you have to do all the different cocoons. The first one is Buddy Attack. Then we've got Narrow Cage. Then we have Vanishing Path, Dyna Assault, Runway 2, and Parkour Master. All right, you want to make sure that you do all of those cocoons as well as those towers to get additional skill points. Next up is the Kavaris region. The Kavaris region also only has 1 tower. The tower is Deep Well over here. And then once you're done with that, then we have the regular cocoons starting with Vanishing Path 2, Clockwork Prison, Horrible Flapping, Wild Avalanche, Slope Style, and finally Crazy Tail. Again, you want to make sure that you do all of them. And last but not least is the Stia region. The Stia region has 1 tower down here, which is Broken World. And then we have the cocoons, which is Quarterstaff, Hedical Line, as well as Face the Darkness. Now, the thing about these skill points is you do not, I repeat, you do not need to do rank 2. You can do the rank 1 versions of everything. And I recommend people to actually do the rank 1 versions of everything as it is significantly easier. And you can also run this with your friends. You can get your friends to hard carry you through all of these cocoons very quickly. And what's even better is you only need to do this once, all right? Once you've done this once on a singular character, those skill points carry over to your entire account. So all of your characters will have all 47 skill points, which you can allocate to every single class. Now, it's very important that you actually allocate all of your skills by going over to the class counter, then going to learn class skills and filling out all of your skill trees over here. Even for the classes that you think that you're never going to use, just fill out the points. The reason for this is because when you change class, your subclass benefits from those skill points, all right? You need to invest those skill points or use those skill points and learn any random skill. It doesn't matter. It needs to learn some skills and it will greatly affect your battle power. As you can see over here, my current battle power on my main account is 4,724. However, if we look over here and I go to learn class skill and I go under the force, and if I unlearn everything, as you can see here, let me just unlearn a bunch of skill points, you're going to notice that my battle power will decrease significantly. And now you look at my battle power, I literally lost 100 battle power because I just took off a couple skill points, all right? So it's very, very important that you do not sleep on this, that you actually allocate your skill points to all of your classes, and that way you won't have any battle power problems as your BP will be high enough for literally everything, all right? And there we go, we reallocated our points and we are back at 4,724 battle power, which is perfecto. All right, the next thing I need to talk about is, of course, leveling up, because I know a lot of people are gonna be like, hey, I wanna play different classes, how do I level up those classes quickly? It's very important that you have your main class at max level or the class that you're going to be playing the most. And then for all the other classes, you can just play as a subclass. So as you can see here, select main class, just pick whatever class you're most comfortable with, even if it's max level, it doesn't matter. And then when you select a subclass, it can be any class that you want to level. They can get all the way up to level 100 or 5 levels below the maximum level that's currently available. So as you can see, my Braver is currently level 105, which is the level cap. Now I can continue to play Braver main class and just change my subclass to, for example, Techer. And now my Techer will also gain EXP and level up all the way up to level 100. Now, if I want to get it to level 105, which is the level cap, well, then I'm going to need to play Techer main class, all right? And the great thing about the subclass system is your subclass still earns 90% of the EXP gained. So let's say you kill an enemy and the enemy gives you 100 EXP. 100 EXP will go to the main class. However, additionally, 90 EXP will go to the subclass. So basically, you're going to be able to get all of your classes to minimum level 100 by simply having them as the subclass, and you can just focus on playing whatever class or whatever weapon that you like. Now, for leveling purposes, I do recommend people to use Force as a subclass because Force does have a special ability called Eradication PP Gain, which recovers your PP when nearby enemies are defeated or downed. So it essentially gives you unlimited PP works, and you can just go out and just obliterate things forever and ever and never run out of PP. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you thought you beat the game now, right? So we finally completed the storyline. We're strong. We've learned all our skill points. You know, we're powerful now, right? Wrong. This is where the real game begins and the real grinding begins. And that is getting your weapons maxed out, getting your augments, enhancing them, working on your fixes. There's a lot of stuff left to do. However, lucky for you, a lot of these materials are obtained in one singular area. All you need to do is head over to your quest counter, go to Ultra Realm Exploration, Combat Sectors, and Altered Battle Line West Desert Area. This is going to be your best friend. This is a PSE combat zone. It does support up to 8 players. There's auto matchmaking for you, so you don't need to worry about making friends. The game will make friends for you. All you need to do is come in here and grind forever. You're just going to be grinding here for, I don't know, I would say maybe about 50 hours. 50 hours would be a safe bet to get like everything that you need to get started pretty comfortably. And the main reason I say that is because you're going to get a regular Juvlog weapon to drop there fairly easily. They drop fairly often. Now, ideally, you're going to get a weapon that you want to use with a nice fixer that you want. And if you're incredibly lucky, you might even get the EX augments that you want. However, since you're still starting out, do not worry too much about the EX augments that you get over here. As long as they look good to you, it's good enough. All right, it doesn't really matter as all of these EX augments are good. Some of them are just more situational than others. So as long as it makes sense in your brain, it's a good EX augment. Because at the end of the day, you can switch out these EX augments at any time that you want at no additional cost. So you don't need to worry about it. All right. Now, once you've got your Juvlog weapon, you're going to be farming for a bunch of Juvlog Vault 1s as well as pro-grade grinders, which just so happen to also drop in that combat zone. And once you've collected 150 of them as well as 400 pro-grade grinders, you're going to be able to evolve that weapon into a Volgan weapon. The moment you get a Volgan weapon, this is pretty much the moment that you should switch off your free weapon. Remember that weapon that we've been using since level 70 that they gave us for free? It's time to move on. And what we're going to be upgrading to is going to be the Volgan weapon. And eventually you're going to evolve that Volgan weapon into an Iden weapon, which requires even more materials, which also drop in that combat zone. Now, if you get incredibly lucky and you manage to get a Crest weapon to drop while you're farming in that area, well, lucky you. You can save a little bit of resources and you can actually aim for the best in slot weapon available in the game by upgrading the Crest weapon into a Zenith weapon. Now, the problem about the Zenith weapons is it is incredibly hard to get Crest cubes. Now, you might be super duper lucky and you might get, a Crest weapon to drop plus 5 of these Crest cubes on your first day of farming here. If you do, congratulations, you have the new best in slot weapon in the game, which is the Zenith weapons. If you manage to get a Zenith weapon, 1000% fully enhance it, fully augment it, and just use that, and congratulations, you have the best weapon in the game. However, for the majority of us, we're going to be sticking with the item weapons because the crest cubes, as well as the crest weapon itself, has an incredibly low drop rate of 0.000000000000000000001%. Alright, after you've made your weapon, the next thing that you're going to be focusing on is going to be your armors. Pro-grade armors are also going to be dropping fairly often in this area, and so once you get 3 of these, congratulations. Again, you're going to be fully enhancing them, fully augmenting them, so that you can evolve them into the new Execule armors. As we can see under Equipment Upgrade, at Equipment Upgrade 2, we're going to scroll all the way to the very bottom. There are 2 different armors you can choose from. You can either choose the regular Execule armor, or you can go with the Execule armor Lise. They give different stats, so it's important that you understand which one gives what. The very first one is the Execule armor. This is the green colored one. It's the balance build. It gives 7% all potency, 80 HP, and 6 PP. I recommend using this for the majority of players. Just stick with the green one. However, if you're like me and you're crazy and you prefer to be super duper tanky because you like having a lot of health, then you might want to consider the Execule Armor Lise, which is the purple colored one, because it gives you 150 HP, which is a lot of HP, but you lose 15 PP per armor. Remember, you can equip 3 different armors at any given time, so you're actually going to be losing like 45 PP if you equip all 3 armors, which are the Lise variant. So you know, this isn't for everyone, especially for a lot of classes that do need a lot of PP. I would not recommend the Lises. However, for me personally, I like the Lises because I just like having a massive amount of HP. But for the average player who plays multiple classes or wants to play multiple classes, or maybe you're just starting up and you don't really know what you want yet, just stick with the regular Execule armor. The green one is probably my recommendation for 99% of you guys. Alright, congratulations! You finally have your new weapon and you have your new armors. Now you need to fully enhance as well as fully augment them. Enhancing, I have a full video talking about enhancing. You guys can watch it. I'll link it in the description below, because if I explain enhancing now, it's going to take like 50 billion years and the video is going to be like 7 hours long. However, I do need to talk about augments because this part is very important. I understand that a lot of people have watched my guide video from a year ago where I was like, hey, LC augments are fine. Just use the LC augments. They're kind of the soft cap. You're good to go. That has changed. In the span of this 1 year, LC augments are garbage now. You do not want to use any LC augments. You want to be upgrading to the new best in slot augments because the best in slot has become so much cheaper and so much more accessible. So as you can see, basically you want to use all 6 of these augments down here, which is the Grand Gladius Hole, the Gland Gigas Maste, the Lux Hal Finale, the Giga Triel, the Ultia Domina, as well as the Grand Dreadkeeper 2. These are basically the ones that you want to go for, and it just so happens that all of these drop in the same combat zone. The one that I just talked about in the Ultra Realm, all of them drop there. And they're fully completed, so you can literally just farm there. That's why I said you might need to farm like 50 hours to get all of the different capsules and all of the different augments that you need, and then you can just slap them all onto your armor. Now, you may have noticed that I did not talk about the Larze as well as the Ratty augments. This is because these 2 augments are considered pay-to-win augments, and you can only get them from the gacha, which requires you to spend real money, or you have to buy it off the player shop from whales that are selling it on the shop for Meseta. So you can obtain this fully free to play. However, they are really expensive, which is why I don't recommend them for new players at the moment, because most of you guys are probably going to be struggling on Meseta management. So instead of using those super expensive augments, here are the alternatives. The first category is going to be the Might DP, the Precision DP, as well as the Technique DP, depending on what type of damage you do. So in order to tell what damage you do, you simply look at your weapon, and all you need to do is see the little picture next to the weapon's name. It's right on the left side. See what color it is. As you can see, the katana has an orange background, which means it is melee damage, because if we look at the augment right here, the Might DP has the orange color versus the Precision, which is blue, and then the Technique, which is yellow. So you just need to look at the color of your weapon or the little background symbol, and that way you'll know what type of potency you need. Now, the second augment is going to be the duables. So there is the Melra Doable DP, the Raw Tech Doable DP, as well as the Meltech Doable DP. Again, you can pick any of these as long as it covers your damage type of your weapon. So again, you're going to be looking at the little picture on the left side of the weapon's name. I'm actually going to pull up a different weapon so you can see the different categories. As you can see, the launcher is a ranged weapon, so it has a blue background. The boots over here, even though they're jet boots, they should be melee, but it considers itself a technique weapon, which is why it has a yellow background. All right, so it's very important that you actually go through all your different weapons and see what color background it is to determine what type of potency you actually need to invest in for your specific class. All right, once you're done with all of that, we still have add-on skills. So add-on skills is kind of an end game mechanic. However, I do recommend people to invest at least 1 point in every single class. So what you do is you head over to the class counter, you go to add-on skills, then you head over to generate add-on skills. As you can see, there are 10 classes. You want to generate one skill by simply clicking on add-on skill 1. It will cost you 1 class EX cube as well as 5,000 meseta. However, you want to do this once on every single class. The reason for this is because by applying an add-on skill, you actually give yourself a permanent buff. As you can see here, add-on skill boost. EXP and meseta earned as well as rare drop rate plus 10%. This is basically, it gives you 1% for every add-on skill you have for every single class. So this is why you want to spend that 5,000 N meseta to guarantee that you have this permanent buff on you, as it does add up over time. And remember, this is permanent and it's account-wide. You do this once on one character and all of your characters benefit from this permanent 10% try boost. However, once you're done with that, eventually you do want to max out all of your add-on skills, because it requires you to roll the add-on skill level 1, I believe like 10 to 20 times or so, to unlock add-on skill level 5. You just want to keep re-rolling on add-on skill 1 until you unlock add-on skill 5. Once you unlock add-on skill 5, you're going to see right here that you're going to need this item called the N Master Cube. You're going to need 5 of these as well as 1 million meseta. Now, why does this matter? It's because the add-on skill level 5 guarantees max rolls for all of your main effects as well as 2 random sub-effects. And because it's a guaranteed max roll, it's actually going to save you a lot of money. I know a lot of people might be like, holy crap, 1 million per roll, that's a lot of money. However, if you ask any veteran that played before we had add-on skill level 5, I promise you, we've sunk 20, 30, 40 million meseta trying to get the perfect max roll. So 1 million is actually nothing now. However, this is an endgame thing that you want to slowly work towards. I do not recommend doing this when you are still broke and you're still working on your gear. This is definitely something that you want to do near the end, or when you have nothing else to do and you have a lot of extra money. However, this does not mean that you should not do this at all, because the benefits that you get from these add-on skills are actually pretty massive. As you can see over here, the melee damage, you get 5% more melee damage. You get 10% more crit rate. You can also get more crit damage. You get a lot of different stats over here, which are very, very useful and will make your character significantly stronger. So you definitely want to make sure that you eventually get to it and do all the add-on skills. Now, last but not least is your tech arts customization. This basically allows you to add additional effects onto your existing skills in order to make them more effective. Now, there are add-on skills for a bunch of different classes over here, so you can literally go down the list of every single class. So just click the one that you play the most, and there is a list of all the different abilities, and then you can read it for yourself and see what they do in order to modify how that specific photon art or technique works to suit your personal playstyle. I'm not going to go super in depth about the tech arts customization, because if I did, this video will literally be an hour long. And there we go. Hopefully this guide helps you. I know it was incredibly long. Again, I put a bunch of timestamps below so that, you guys can jump to the parts that you need to rewatch, or the things that, you're confused or not sure about.
Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.